Hey, I'm Dr. Bob Cargill, and welcome back to Bible and Archaeology's continuing discussion of the Nativity and how we arrived at the classic scene we know today. In previous videos, we discussed the idea of the inn, and we've looked at the manger, and we've examined the visitors, the shepherds and the Magi, who came to visit baby Jesus. To catch up on those videos, click the link right here. In this video, we want to take a look at exactly how many Magi may have come to visit and why the tradition settled on 3 kings. As we discussed in our last video, the description of the Magi comes from Matthew 2, where an enigmatic group of men come from the east, this is Matthew 2:1, in search of the newborn Jesus. However, have you ever noticed just how many Magi the text describes? 3, right? Or is it? Let's look at the text. The image many have come to expect from the classical nativity scene is that of 3 Magi who come bearing gifts. There's just one problem with this image. Matthew never actually gives us a number. No, really. Take a look. In each instance where Matthew describes the Magi in his account, no number of persons is given. They are simply referred to with a plural noun, magoi, from the Greek magos, which was originally used by historians to refer to a tribe of the Medes in ancient Persia, but which soon came to be associated with what certain priestly members of this tribe of Southwest Asian peoples did, which came to be considered astrology, or the similarly sounding magic. And hence, Magi came to describe a vocation, wise men, instead of just the name of a people to the east of Judea. So all we know from the text is that there are more than 1 Magi. So whence do we get the idea of 3 Magi? This number developed within the Western Christian tradition in correspondence to the 3 gifts brought by the Magi, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This is Matthew 2:11. However, not all Christian traditions hold to the idea of 3 Magi, and in Eastern and Syriac Christian traditions, there are actually 12 Magi. So your robust nativity set may still be a little lacking. And while we're on the topic of the Magi, there is still one more thing we should discuss. Were the Magi also kings? Truth is, there is nothing in Matthew's gospel account to suggest that the Magi should also be understood to be kings. As we've discussed, their title, Magi or wise men, does not relate to the role of kingship, but is used to describe priests or astrologers, dream interpreters, or what many ancients considered magicians. So, if the Magi from Matthew aren't kings, then whence came this tradition of the Magi as kings? This association with kings comes from later reinterpretations of a passage in Isaiah 60, 1-6, the first example of which comes from Justin Martyr. And if we look at Isaiah 60, we'll see why. As the author of Isaiah prophetically describes a Messiah figure, he poetically states that, quote, "The nations," and the word here is goyim, which also means foreigners, "shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn," or of your rising. This is Isaiah 60, verse 3. And that, quote, "they shall bring gold and frankincense, and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord." This is Isaiah 60, verse 6. Later Christians drew upon this description celebrating the gifts given to a royal messianic figure, which, let's face it, may have been initially inspired by the Isaiah 60 passage to begin with, and associated this passage with the birth of Jesus, thereby turning the Magi into kings. And because Matthew 2:11 states that they brought gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the assumption was that there were 3 kings. So how many Magi were there? In short, we don't know. It may be 2, or 3, or 12. The Bible doesn't say. It only says there were more than 1. And they weren't kings, but they were foreigners, following a star they noticed in the sky. And what do we know about this star? Find out in our next video. Until then, for all of us here at Bible and Archaeology, I'm Dr. Bob Cargill wishing you everything the best.